may sound muffled because I'm wearing a face mask because of the coronavirus state law. Anyone that's outside must be 6 feet away from each other, and you must be wearing a face mask. Now, this here is the GTO from JONWAY. Now, I don't know who JONWAY is. It just so happened that on the internet, when you're buying these bikes, let's say you go to Power Sport Max, because these guys advertise JONWAY a lot, and recently you go to Texas Power Sport or even Venom Motorsport, all these guys, they're selling JONWAY's product. But when you get those bikes, you're gonna see something like this here. I don't see JONWAY here. You see it says Seaman County Young Food Machine Co. Ltd. Right? I mean, the information may be right. That's GV or W, that's the gross weight, 220 kg, 486 lbs. This is right. You got the front, rear, this is right, this vehicle. Okay, everything here is right. The VIN is also right. Now the paperwork give me this as YY350-9a. So I don't want to go back and forth with these guys, I just register it. But you see the VIN number here, the model number is YN250-9a. That doesn't make a big difference. And when you actually get a register, it's only 2 digits. I might sell this bike to anyone saying that, oh, the DMV make an error. So that doesn't really bother me that much. Now, what I was saying earlier is that, you see, this here is wrong. Is this vehicle conform EPA regulation applicable 2019 model year? Motorcycle is certified to one blah blah. Okay, here is wrong. You got 244 cc's on the JONWAY website. That's the official manufacturer's name from China. Well, here they call it Yangfu, or I don't know, the sticker says Yangfu, but on the internet it says JONWAY. On their website, this motorcycle is a 321 cc's. Now the sticker here says 244 cc's. Right, imported by Liu Global Motor Inc. Got no idea who that is. Vehicle Control Information Engine Family, KYMC 244 MC1. Creation Family, KYG. See that? All of this is just throw you off guard. You think that this is actually legal, but believe me, it isn't. I'm gonna show you the spark plug. Where is it at? Oh yeah, there it is. See that? NGK DR7EA9. Nope, DPR7EA9. That's wrong. Idle speed is right. That would be CRH. Maybe this might be right. I have to research on that plug. But the one that the bike came with was wrong. I could have sworn I saw the same mark on that one. Huh. I may take that back. Maybe the information here is right. I really don't know what to tell you guys anymore. But look, this is what happens when you buy things from China. You have to go over everything from spec to spec, points on points, and see what they're missing and what you have to adjust. Now me, nothing gets passed by me, because everything that sounds funny, I notices it. Anything that doesn't run properly, I notices it. Now I'm not gonna go over all that. I go over the basic things, but as I ride it, I start noticing things here and there. Now, this here, now this bike is perfect as it is, right? You bleed it properly. You see the coolant reservoir here. There we go. See that? It's somehow yellow, right? It's half. You think that this is okay, but it isn't. You know why? Because the coolant is being drained. And this is where it's being drained at. You see this? Now on the other side, that's a chain. That's okay. But on this side, there should be no leak whatsoever. And this is not a paint mark. This is a coolant mark. So this is what's happening here. You see that weeping hole? They call that a weeping hole. That's a weeping hole. When the bike is accelerating, because this engine doesn't have a thermostat. Now, if it had a thermostat, it would have connected right here where the water pump is at. But instead, they just joined one hole. They eliminate it and continue it on this thing. So what happened now is when the engine is boiling up pressure, not only will you have to put the right amount of oil, but the pressure of the heat from the cylinder head boiling the coolant. Because of that, it doesn't have a thermostat to stay open or closed, to regulate somewhere here and to circle around. Well, it kept them squirting around. Now when you're doing high speed, that heat temperature right here on the engine case pushes it. Now it has nowhere else to go, because you also have the radiator cap right here, and that has a spring that has the right amount of pressure to keep them pumping. So because it doesn't have a thermostat to keep hold of something on the case, and everyone is just running around like crazy, and the more hotter the engine is, the stronger the pressure is. You wouldn't understand. You'd have to see like how a fire truck is when they have a hose and they just pressurize a flame somewhere with the water. That's how this engine is running when it's that hot. So when the pressure is too high, there is a part that now the oil seal from the water pump housing. Now, depends on how they install it. If they didn't put the right amount of silicone in there and let it dry before they actually put oil on the engine and put the coolant in there, if they didn't even put any silicone at all, you literally have a rubber on metal. So that pressure pushing the oil seal out or squeezing it somewhere, and then coolant is going around it and going downward, and then you can actually, well, I don't have a camera, but you see this thing like spitting. You know when you're talking to someone and you're spitting, this is how this is. So yeah. Now, this is not a big deal. I just have to go over this thing and get the right amount, get the right tool. Well, to get to that oil seal, I have to remove a metal. It's like a CN250 housing. So there are two parts that I have to remove, and then get the oil seal it properly with silicone, let it stay there for a day or two, and then put coolant in there. So it hasn't damaged the engine yet. All I have to do is make sure that my my coolant is always on top. Now that's just one part. Let's see here. You got weak weld. Not sure if you can see this thing. All right, weak weld. See that? This is already falling apart. Now this bike is a inline twin engine. All of them resemble Kawasaki Z250 or Suzuki GSX R250. So you would find parts, they actually are the same. It's just that if you can get a little millimeter differences, it will be okay. Because the first time I try to remove this, I try to eliminate it, you can see the scratch here. I work rough all the time and I really don't care. So first time I try to remove this, I successfully removed the whole thing. But the pipe that I bought, even though online it says, I think it was 38 or 39 millimeter or something like that, wouldn't fit. So they give me the wrong pipe. I end up having to return the whole thing. Since I bought them single by single, I now buy them a whole exhaust set with the Kawasaki's head pipe. So when it comes, I'll install it. So that's just another error. Then you got another error again. You see the chain right here? I know I've seen a lot of comments on my videos where people complain that this chain is too hard. But look at mine right here. Barely doing anything. See that? That's because you see here, you have to do something like called half. So once you measure the half from here to here, which is for me is around that corner, I took my ruler. This right here now becomes 20. Well, it might adjust a little bit, but when I measured it, it becomes 20 to 30 millimeter. So I had to change the chain if I wanted to adjust that, because it was impossible for me to adjust it with the factory chain. And even so, it stretches around 350 miles. I didn't want to use it again. Now, here's the best part I like about these Chinese bikes. They will give you like standard mirrors that the factory has for all type of bikes and not for the specific model. So when you sit on the bike, right? You sit on the bike. I'm an everyday cruiser rider, and I really like to see my back all the time. You see a mirror, a perfect mirror that is set up properly, should show you the back of the motorcycle all the way to the headlight. Right? When you're holding the handlebar, you should not see your elbow get in the way or any of your body part like this whatsoever. Because any, let's say, a fraction of a course that you can't see behind you, and you're gonna make a turn, if you only miss like something very simple, somebody could be behind you making a turn and you don't know, and boom, you guys get in a collision. So the mirror that they give me, I adjusted many times and I could never really get a perfect angle all the way to my rear. So what I had to do is, I had to get a bar and mirror. Instead of putting right here, put it down there. So when I'm riding, you can see my hand position and you can actually see in the back. Same way you're looking at the camera right here, it's the same way I'm looking at the bike when I'm riding. Just that I have to bring my head down a little bit, that way I can see properly. Now, the last complaint I have about this bike, right, is the fact that this is 5 miles ahead. 1,508 miles, but it is not 1,508 miles. What I do is, I do, let's say, 22 to 23 miles trip. That's one ride where I work. And the bike will mark it as 25 miles every time. So when I come back from work, it should be around 45 miles trip, but the bike always marks around 50 miles trip. So what I had to do is divide it by 26, then minus 2.5 because that's the trip that it has extra, whatever it gives me. Then I multiply it by 26 because that's the amount of time that I divided it by. Then it will give me the right amount of trip. So this might be 1,000 miles, but it might be around 1,400 miles. With that being said, the mileage also is wrong. Like when you're doing, let's say, the last I had this bike at was around 91. But here's the thing about this dash. When I first had it, it had this weird glitch with the gears. Like whenever the engine gets hot, I don't know what was wrong with it when I first had it, because the engine was brand new. Everything was brand new. Whenever the engine gets very hot, you would see that if it's running on 5th gear, you see nothing. And when you change to 4th gear, you see the 4th gear. But when you're down to neutral, you will see neutral right here, and then you will see 4 right here. And it will be doing that for a while until I thought that maybe it was my my gear wire. So I went there and checked it, and everything looks good. So I said, okay, until finally it doesn't do that anymore. Now, when it used to do that, my mileage was drastic. I would be doing 91 miles per hour, full throttle, going real fast, which is okay, it's fast. It might be 91, but I really don't know if it's 91. So now it doesn't show 91 when I go that fast. The last time it shows, the highest mileage was around 87. But nowadays I cruise around 83, even 80 miles per hour. Everything is running perfectly with this bike, so it's not an engine failure, it's not a computer problem. I think it was a dash that was malfunctioning from before. I'm not gonna be a super nerd and geek and going around and testing here and there. I don't have time for that. I may have time for that, but my concern is mainly about performance and not technical malfunctionality. I can live with that. So yeah, I can find out how my dash is. I know it's events, it's still events as it was from the start. That hasn't changed. But the maybe when you're going, let's say you're going fast, maybe the speed that finally comes down to the point that it's supposed to regulate. Maybe it did, but I'm not sure. That being said, what was this bike for? In my opinion, if you're not like me, you got no mechanical skills whatsoever, and you're a person looking to buy a nice Chinese bike that may look like a Japanese bike, like a Honda or Kawasaki or something similar like that, do not buy this, because you're gonna regret your money. There's so much things that you have to check all the time and adjust and pay attention to, and you know, and listens to. Me, I can never ride this peacefully with my music on my head, because I know the thing about Chinese bikes, so I have to listen to sound all the time. So yeah, you shouldn't buy this. In fact, you should save more and buy this guy right here. This guy, I recommend this all the time to people when they ask me which is better. Is it the Lifan or is it the Howlet? I tell them this is better. Even though you see the trunk here, everything, that's just after 1 year I've owned it. I never actually spend that much on a bike until I see the performance, which is why this still stays naked and I haven't done anything to it. So yeah, this thing will cost you 3.7K. This thing will cost you 3.K, but you're gonna have to do a lot of changes when you first got it. The spark plug is wrong. The engine's oil is overfilled. Oh yeah, look at this. See my drain? You wouldn't believe it. It was leaking oil. I'm not sure if the error is from me, because I did lend my buddy this bike to ride. I'm not sure if he did remove this and check the oil quantity, because he will do that. He's a motorcycle expert. And then he put it back wrong, because he hasn't touched bikes for years and he's not used to doing that. I'm not sure where that came from. But when I had the bike, it wasn't leaking. As soon as I lent him the bike, a couple of days later, this thing was leaking. And I think it was like 2 days later or a day later, because I change between bikes all the time and I don't ride them daily. So when I start riding it for 1 day, I lost around 250 milliliter of oil. I had to top it off. And this cap right here came from a CN 250cc Honda Helix. I still have parts for that scooter because I used to own it. And I had bought one of these because when I had the scooter, this one literally breaks over a winter time and then it became summer. So I bought this to replace it. And then I bought an extra one and kept it as a spare part. So I had to use it for that one. Otherwise, oh yeah, we got some squealing brake issues here. I can't show you the angle of the bolts. Maybe I can. Okay, you see the first one right here? First one on top, right? You see the disc. You see how close it is to the disc? Now you see the one at the bottom, the one right here. You see how far it is from the disc? So now look at the bolts here. You see this thing has like a bump, the one at the bottom. That's because I put a lock washer. It looks like a seat washer, just to give it a little space to remove it from off the disc. And then this one, because it's on top, it doesn't touch the disc. It won't come in conflict with it. Now, when it's close to the disc, you wouldn't notice it, but when this thing is turning real fast, and I mean extremely fast, and then you suddenly starts to move slow, you hear like a creak sound, like something that's very old, like it's a big truck and it needs a brake to stop, or something stupid. So it takes me a while to figure it out, but eventually I did. Now, when that happened is because of that, your brake caliper, your brake pad shoes right here, also gets deformed. So from time to time, the error will fix itself from time to time, but that deformation is still there. So you have to change the pad right here. Every single one of those bikes that's being sold have the same pattern. All right, so if you want to buy this bike, do it at your own risk. I wouldn't recommend this bike to you, because for your own safety, you know, bike is not for one lifetime or 1 day or 1 month or or 1 week. It's supposed to be for enjoying your summer. You know, ride with your friend, or go on the highway and speed, or go to an interstate from here, let's say New Jersey to Pennsylvania or somewhere like that, and you just enjoy your trip. That's what bike is for. So this bike wouldn't do that to you. I mean, it wouldn't give you that satisfaction because there's too many things you have to check on it. This one will. All right, so that's the review for the JONWAY YY350-9a from me. I just did 50 miles on it. Recorded on the dash. Not that much wet, but a little bit. 50 miles with the coolant on. Same coolant I had. Same coolant I had when we started. 50 miles, checking underneath the cross. So it's a pretty lifted bike. You just have to keep the coolant. You know, the Chinese crap, so what's wrong with that, right? There it is.